One of the biggest mistakes that you can make when trying to persuade people, when trying to seduce people, is to use logical arguments. We all believe that we make decisions using logic, but this is a misconception. And when you understand how we really make decisions, when you understand that we make decisions emotionally, or we make decisions with a weird mix of emotions and logic, you'll understand how to leverage people's emotions rather than the logical circuits in their brain to help them decide whatever you want them to decide. Imagine you're standing at an all-you-can-eat buffet and you see two choices: bacon, chicken, bacon, chicken. This is both an emotional decision and a logical decision. What does this mean? Imagine a logical circuit in our brain, an either-or gate. Whichever one is bigger, that's the signal that comes through. And one signal is the bacon. The other signal is the chicken. Both of these are purely emotional and purely subconscious signals. We look at the bacon, and that gives us a complete, total emotional idea, emotional feeling, an emotional signal that is associated with eating bacon. Then we look at the chicken, and we get a total emotional feeling that involves all the variables that go into what we feel like when we think about eating chicken. Now, there are a cajillion variables that go into both of these individual signal strengths. Whether or not you're on a diet, what day of the week it is, whether it's a special occasion, how you feel about yourself and your health, how you feel about yourself and your future, how disciplined you are. All of these go into the emotional strength of this decision. And we will never really know all of the things that go into the emotional strength. We just know that one of these is stronger than the other one. But the reason we think we make logical decisions is because these two emotional strength signals go through a logical signal or a logical circuit in our brain. And the output is what we see consciously. The output is our decision. And the output seems logical because it goes through a logical circuit. But we only see the output, not the input. And so we mistakenly believe that we make decisions because of logic, not because of emotional inputs. Logic is the result. Emotions are the cause. And so later, when we try to persuade other people, later when you try to seduce other people, and if you mistakenly believe that logic is the driving force of our decisions, it will not work most of the time. This is why sales is such a low probability game, because people are using all these logical reasons, features and benefits, the reason why this product is so good, all the reasons, all the logical reasons why you should buy this product. They completely ignore the emotional inputs to our decision-making process. So if you understand this whole process, this can give you a huge advantage into helping people make the decisions that you'd like them to make. Whether or not you want to be incredibly seductive, whether or not you want to be incredibly persuasive, whether or not you want to make a ton of money in sales. So long as you understand this process, that the inputs to all of our decisions are emotional, but we think they're logical, you can hack the game in your favor. So the first step is to figure out what emotions would be best to drive the decisions you'd like them to make. And then you figure out how to elicit those emotions in your target, your customer, your seduction, affection target. And then you figure out a way to elicit those emotions. So the money question is, how do you elicit the right emotions? How do you elicit emotions in other people that will drive them to make decisions, that will drive them to make the decisions that you'd like them to make and feel comfortable with those decisions and feel a sense of ownership over these decisions? Well, one way is to tell a story. Telling stories has always been a fantastic way to create emotions in other people. If you can tell a good story, and if they follow along with the character in their story, as the character goes through a set of sequences and situations and circumstances that creates the right emotions, or the emotions you'd like to create in your target, they will vicariously follow along. They will make those decisions based on those emotions. This is why most advertising is based on storytelling. This is why most copywriting is based on storytelling. You look at every commercial, it's a short little story, because stories are a fantastic way to move people's emotions. If you can tell a good story, if you can move people's emotions, you can get them to do a lot of things. But this can be difficult to come up with a story on the spot. It can be difficult to tell a story off the top of your head when you've just met somebody and you've got all these fantastic emotions swirling around inside your brain. This can be difficult. So luckily, there is an easier way. It's called a presuppositional question with an embedded double bind. A presuppositional question with an embedded double bind. The first step is to figure out what kind of memories, what kind of situations that exist in their past, or what kind of fantasies or expectations or hopes that exist in their future will create those emotions. Let's say you want to get a girl's phone number, and you figure out that feeling adventurous would put her in the right frame of mind, or referencing adventurous memories or having adventurous fantasies will put her in the right mindset to take a little bit of a risk and give you her phone number. You could just say, when was the last time you felt adventurous? That's kind of hard to conjure up an emotion on the spot. It's kind of hard to conjure up an emotion in the abstract. So instead, come up with some situations that will give her that adventurous feeling. Because every time you remember something, every time you recall a memory, you recall all the associated emotions with that memory, and you kind of reconstruct the events. So think of a situation where someone will naturally feel adventurous. And then you take that situation and you presuppose that she has or he has a whole lot of those experiences in their past. And then you reference all these, and then you ask a double-blind questions about the periphery of how this played out. For example, when you think of the last few times where you did something that was out of character for you, but it worked out fantastically well, and you were able to feel really good about that, and you got a lot of validation and admiration from your friends, was that something that you normally do? Or is this something new that you experimented with and it worked out? As soon as they start to contemplate which of these describes those experiences, as soon as they start to contemplate which of these is more correct, they don't have to answer. They just need to put their mind on this question. They will accept the presupposition that they have a lot of experiences in their past where they were able to do something adventurous. Think of the last few times where you took a little bit of a risk. And you weren't sure it was going to work out, but you did it anyways. And you had a fantastic result. And everybody, all of your friends, everybody in your social group looked at you and they admired you for being so adventurous, for being such a bold risk taker. And it worked out really, really well. And you were able to feel really good about yourself. When you remember all these times, is this something that's more congruent with how you normally are? Or was this a new part of your behavior? And these questions don't really need to make a lot of sense. They just need to sound this one or this one. And as soon as they start to even think about what this question even means, let alone come up with an answer, they've already accepted the presupposition that they have had a lot of experiences in their past where they did something adventurous. They were able to take small risks. And once you get them in that headspace of feeling those memories, feeling those emotions without necessarily remembering the exact specific situations, because remember, emotions and emotional experiences that go into decision making are really subconscious. Once you get them in that headspace, they will be in the perfect mindset. And then you just talk about whatever, and then you drop in your ask. You say, however you close them. You seem like a really interesting person. I'd sure like to see you again. Why don't we exchange numbers? So before you have your ask, first, start off with the emotion that would lead to a positive outcome. Then reverse engineer some kind of experiences in their past that would create that emotion. And then presuppose they have a lot of those experiences in their past and say, the last few times you were able to do this thing that created this emotion, what was it like? Was it like this or like this? And as soon as they start to contemplate which one is correct, they will have already accepted the presuppositions and all the emotions that go with those presuppositions, and that will be a perfect time for you to ask them to do whatever you want. And you'll have a whole lot of success with this. So try this out. Let me know in the comments how well it works or if you have any questions. If you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to learn how to get access to one-on-one coaching so that you can become incredibly persuasive, so that you can become incredibly seductive, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.